You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
A whistleblower just exposed the truth about Trump's election lies, based on an article by Nick Hilden. Trump is using the state to re-litigate a loss he cannot accept. Power, not confusion. This story is not about a man who is still emotionally processing an election. It is about a president using a primetime address to convert his personal humiliation into public doctrine. Donald Trump holds the institutional megaphone. He controls the bully pulpit, the national stage, and the machinery that can turn grievance into official-looking spectacle. That is the power at work here. The reporting gives the game away. Trump is expected to push debunked 2020 election lies, and to declare Georgia's Democratic senators illegitimate. That is not confusion. It is an attempt to degrade Democratic legitimacy on purpose, using presidential authority to make refusal to accept reality look like a political position. The lie has a job. The point of the lie is not persuasion in the ordinary sense. Trump does not need to prove a stolen election. He needs to keep the stolen election narrative alive because it performs a political function. It excuses defeat, preserves loyalty, and turns accountability into persecution. Miles Taylor's warning that Trump may cherry-pick declassified intelligence is telling. The strategy is not to present a coherent case. It is to flood the zone with fragments, insinuation, and selective disclosure until ordinary standards of proof collapse under noise. That is how propaganda works when it can borrow the prestige of office. It does not need to be true. It only needs to be harder to dismiss than it is to verify. Security as collateral. The national security angle matters because Trump's attack is not limited to rhetoric. According to Taylor, declassifying material this way could expose sources and methods and hand adversaries a lesson. They do not need to hack machines if they can destabilize the politics around them. That is the real institutional damage. Trump is not defending election integrity. He is treating security infrastructure as raw material for a grievance performance. Taylor says the protections during Trump's first term were built despite Trump, not because of him, and that he did not seem to want those protections. That detail matters because it shows where the real incentives were. The presidency was not aligned with safeguarding elections. The presidency was often the obstacle. Cherry-picked reality. The article notes that foreign actors did try to interfere in 2020. But the intelligence findings also said they did not change votes or alter the outcome. That distinction is the whole story, and Trump's politics depend on erasing it. He needs interference to mean theft. He needs attempted meddling to mean stolen sovereignty. He needs the public to stop distinguishing between hostile action and successful manipulation. If he can make those categories blur, then he can present his defeat as contamination rather than a result. That is misdirection, not analysis, and the article's framing should not be allowed to treat it as some contested factual gray zone. The politics of loserhood. Taylor's most revealing point is also the simplest. Trump may look like a loser to his own supporters if he performs this grievance too openly. That is the cruel math of Margaret politics. Loyalty is contingent on projecting strength, not on defending democracy or coherence. So even the political warning here is not moral, it is tribal. The problem, from Taylor's perspective, is that Trump may sour his own base by sounding like a sore loser. That is useful to note, but it also exposes how degraded the political arena has become. The question is not whether the president is lying. The question is whether the lie is sufficiently stylish to keep the coalition emotionally invested. Systemic error. The larger pattern is obvious. Authoritarian politics does not just reject defeat. It weaponizes the state to make defeat politically unusable. It turns official power into a grievance amplifier, public records into raw propaganda, and democratic institutions into props for personal vindication. That is why this cannot be treated as another episode of election controversy. Trump is not merely misremembering 2020. He is using the authority of the presidency to launder a lie through the public sphere, while the consequence is not just political decay but institutional corrosion. When a president treats the legitimacy of elections as a personal hostage, the system is not being tested. It is being deliberately damaged. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of John. Thanks for listening.